Welcome to Unwinding with Support Group, a mental health podcast by licensed professionals where we discuss mental health topics from a real-world perspective, all while having a drink. So hang out, have some laughs, enjoy the ride, and maybe learn a bit. All right, welcome to another episode of Unwinding with the Support Group. As usual, I am Arlene, and I'm an LPC. Today, my beverage is Red Bull. We're doing our recording a little bit early, so I thought it might be a tad bit too soon for wine, but who knows? With me today, I have a special guest. I have Shawn Nelson.
Hello.
Hey, Shawn, real quick, before I introduce all the things that you do, what do you have to drink?
Well, I was going to bring wine in a coffee cup when I saw what your title was, but I have plain water.
Perfect. Uh, Shawn is a influencer for midlife style. She is a UGC creator, a digital trainer, and a coach who empowers women over 40. She calls it the chapter U.
Yes.
And she does, working with women through their midlife, involving identity, relationships, covering sleep, anxiety, and overall wellness. Did I miss anything?
No, you basically hit it on the head.
Perfect. Um, so let's start with what got you here? What's brought you to this space?
I had been in a community of women for the last 13 years, more in a beauty space, and that started to feel really fake to me because I found that a lot of women weren't being authentically themselves once they reached midlife, but nobody really talked about it. So I felt like I already had this platform of followers. I hate the word influencer. I just authenticity is my jam. And there are some days when we feel like we are literally shitting our pants, and then there's some days when we have it together. And I wanted to really bring that to the table for women 40 and over, just to feel normal again, honestly.
I think that's such a great point because I don't know about you, but hitting into my 40s, I realized that nobody talked about any of the shit we were hitting into. Like,
Yeah.
nobody talked about premenopause, nobody talked about menopause, nobody talked about this shit. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Google was my best friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. And when you go to something like, AI or Google or something where you're going to try to be pulling up the facts, it's going to spit facts. It's not going to spit real life stories. And I needed to build a toolbox for myself first on how I was going to get through all of this stuff. Once I realized what it was and I could put a label on it, and also then help and give permission to other people to do the same.
No, for sure. I think it's very interesting, the demographic, right? And also interesting that you talk about that space for beauty not feeling authentic for you.
Yes. Yes. It just got to be a weird space. I didn't set out to be a quote unquote influencer. My history is actually being a registered nurse, and I fell into a makeup and skincare business vibe that just kind of took off when the internet was kind of taking off. And it took off on Facebook because that's where my age people live. And it just kind of turned into something so much to the fact that I could leave nursing behind. But then I found that it was exciting and it was great to connect with all these people. But my innate nature was to help people heal in all forms. That's why I became a nurse, anyway. But I started to feel myself that I was being forced to show up online in a manner that was quote unquote perfect, which I think is a bullshit word anyway. And with so many keyboard warriors and so much judgment, it just spiked my anxiety. I started going into perimenopause. I mean, it was like the Wild West. And I thought I would consider myself a confident woman, but if I am feeling this weight and I am feeling this change and nobody, like, is anybody else going through this? Is anybody else talking about this? Nobody was. So
No.
that's kind of how that my page was born and how that was all started.
What have you found most beneficial for you and for the other women that you're helping in this path and at this point in their lives?
So I'm going to go back to when I actually had a huge aha moment. Being a registered nurse for so long, I had known about menopause and perimenopause. I had known about menopausal anxiety and all of the physical body changes that we went through, but nobody really talked about the mental changes that we went through. And I was feeling overwhelmed at work. I was on all the time, and I just decided I was going to go to Target. We were talking about Target earlier. It was Christmas time. I thought, I'm going to put on a cute ass sweatshirt. I'm going to go to Starbucks and get a coffee, and I'm going to wander the Target aisles. And I was in the middle of a Target aisle, and I literally all of a sudden had this overwhelming feeling that I was literally going to die in the middle of the aisle, sweating, panic attack. I had never had a panic attack in my life. I had labeled myself as having a person that had it all together. Type A personality, all my ducks are in a row. I was successful at the things that I did, but I was failing myself big time because I hadn't created that toolbox for myself to deal with all of the stuff coming in. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I was also an entrepreneur. And I think when you have all of those things, all of those labels attached to you, it's very easy to drown because you forget who you are. So I literally was ripping my sweatshirt off in the middle of this aisle. I felt terrible for this little girl that was crossing at the end. I probably flashed her my boob. I was just like, get it off, get it off. It was terrible. And I held onto my cart. I left my coffee on the shelf and I literally held onto my cart all the way out to the car because I thought I was going to pass out. And I thought I need to hang on to this cart. And I got out to my car. I just sat in my car and cried. And I went home and I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell my best friend. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell anybody because I thought, well, if I'm going to fail, is what I labeled it as at this, what is happening to me? And then it kept happening. So it happened about two more times before I finally said something to my husband. So at that point, I knew that I had to build a toolbox. I knew I had to, take care of my hormone levels because that is what was triggering it. I knew I had to take care of my workload because that was what was triggering it. And I knew I needed to turn back into myself. I knew I needed to go to therapy. I knew I needed to, check all of those boxes in order to honor my own path because it was absolutely crumbling.
You talk about that panic attack at Target. Mine was an email.
Was it?
Yeah. I don't also get panic attacks, and so mine was an email. The difference for me was I remember reading it, having all the physical sensations and feeling all of that, and having a full-blown conversation with myself in my head going, this is not normal. You
Yeah.
should not be responding this way. What the fuck is going on?
Right.
You're having a panic attack over a fucking email, Arlene. What the fuck is happening? You should
Right.
not be responding this way. Something is not okay. Because I knew this was not okay, which was the weirdest thing I've ever had happen in my whole body was me having a rational conversation with myself while panicking.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
I've had anxiety before where like I just feel it and then like I have to talk it, but I'm having a rational ass conversation in panic. And I was like, okay, like the email wasn't even a bad email. It wasn't like we need to talk or
Yeah.
any, it was just a regular boring ass email.
Yeah.
So when you're describing that, like I get how it just happens when you hit into like perimenopause and like those things. And if you don't understand, like even when you do understand, you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. 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 I
Yeah.
literally felt like I was going to die. I thought, oh, is this how we're going out? On aisle 7 at
Yeah.
Target? Like, really?
I stood there and I was
Bullseye.
just like,
Here we are.
hey, here we are. Me, I was like, oh, so it's an email. An email is the thing that finally makes my nervous system just fucking die. Cool.
Yeah, I think our nervous systems are on constant overload, especially as women. And I don't know what the makeup is, between men and women, but I feel like us as women, we just have the world sitting on our shoulders. And it's almost like we're expected to do it perfectly, to do it with a smile, to do it with glitter eyeshadow. It's like, fuck that. No, no.
Well, I agree with you because it doesn't matter which way you do it, someone's always going to tell you you did it wrong.
100%. 100%.
right?
Mhm.
Someone always has an opinion on how you did it
Yeah.
because, well, if you had done it that way, that was the right way, or this is the better way, right? We got that as parent, like when we were parenting children. If you have children, everybody an opinion on how to parent your child.
Yeah.
Everybody told you what the right way to parent was and what the wrong way to parent was, and how you
Yeah.
should do this and how you. That doesn't stop as women. You just get older and they just change what they're telling you you're right or wrong about.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also shocked. Once I started forming my personal toolbox, you know what I try to tell my community is everyone's toolbox is going to look different. And there's no shame with what is put inside your toolbox, whether that's therapy or medication or alternative treatments, whatever that is that works for you. I think is really important. But I was recently around a group of women, and this topic had come up about mental health. And at first, you could tell everybody was kind of like, I'm fine, I'm fine. It's the it's fine crap. And as soon as one person would say, oh, yeah, I do this, this, and this in order to stay sane, it all of a sudden opened a door. And then it all of a sudden gave everybody else permission to tell their story also. And I think if more
Mhm.
women talked about their story, no matter how stupid they felt it was, I thought I was so stupid, flashing my boob in the middle of Target, spilling my coffee, sweating, thinking I was going to die. That sounds really stupid. But when
Mhm.
you're going through it, it's tragic. It's like chaos. But
Yeah,
I think more
it's.
women just really need to come to the table with it.
No, I agree. I think for me, one of the things that I always think gets in the way is, in fact, sometimes other women,
Mhm.
the
Yes.
fear of being judged.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Mean girl syndrome.
uh-huh.
That should be a
And
clinical diagnosis.
it, like the idea of like not supporting one another or seeing another woman's success as a reason to hate them or um just Harvard did a study, and this blows my mind, that there are of women where there are groups of women where they see other women succeed, and that is powering, and that is like, yes, you
Mhm.
go girl, and
Yeah.
that is like, okay, man, I can do that too.
Yeah.
And there is another group of women who see that as threatening, and they see that as, and they creates anger, and
Yeah.
that creates frustration, and that to me is the problem.
1000%. I agree. I agree. And I think that is, I mean, not to place blame, but I'm going to place blame. I feel like that's where society has put us, and we've decided to stay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I
Don't
concur.
don't stay there. I have to go around the people that feel like light to me.
No, for sure. Like, your success is exciting. It doesn't take away from my success or anything. Like, you should lift up. When one woman succeeds, we all succeed. So
Right.
lift up the next woman next to you,
Right.
right? Like, yeah, that's how that works.
Right. Yeah, very true. Very true.
Right. Right. Like, we as women didn't get this far, or whatever. Um
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
refight some battles, but we didn't
Right.
get to this place without working together.
Yes.
We have to redo that, unfortunately. And that means we have to be together.
Yeah. And that is really important because it shouldn't be like this, but it is like this.
Mhm.
We have to link elbows. That's just for all things, for mental health, for all the things that are out there. We really have to come together in that aspect.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I also take, and anybody who's listened to this podcast will also say authenticity is also the thing around here.
Yeah.
For you, and when you were working with your women, why do you preach that so much to them?
Authenticity, because I feel like it gives permission to others, because I feel like there is a preset mold that women feel like they need to fit in, especially in the influencer world. My friend, she is down here, she's snoring in case you hear that. um, and especially in the influencer world, I feel like they want to look like the woman next door to them, and that's how they're going to find normalcy in their life. That's how they're going to stand out. That's how they're going to quote unquote feel pretty. the trends, I mean, it's just constantly being pushed down everyone's throat. So authenticity for my community is huge because I feel like that's where you can really step into the chapter that's meant for you. You know, when we are getting our careers going, if that's what we're choosing, becoming a mother, if that's what we're choosing, getting married, if that's what we're choosing, I feel like we spend so much time putting on that mask for other people that when all that stuff goes away, you're left with, well, who are you? And, you know, I had a son that was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 11. He's 22 now. And so I had that. I was a mom of twins. I was a wife. So those were all my labels. But as soon as my son took over his own medical control and care and insurance and doctor's appointments, okay, I don't have that label anymore. But I still hung on to that. When you know, I'm obviously I still have my title of being a wife, but it's not my identity. I'm a mom of twins, not my identity. And so when my three kids went to college and when my son took over his own stuff and my husband has his company and I have my thing, and I think, okay, well, who am I? You know, when someone asks you, like, write your bio, well, what is that? I don't care. You don't have to run a business. Like, what is your bio? It shouldn't say mom of a type 1 diabetic child, mom of twins, mom of three college kids. Like, who the fuck are you? Who is Shawn? Who is Arlene? Like, who are we? And so
Yeah.
that is being authentic to that and just teaching them to stand in their own power by example, because we're all going to fall down. We're all going to, you know, screw up in our own eyes. We're all not going to do it correctly, but every single day they get a new chance to do it. And I feel like creating an authentic community around authenticity to say like my midlife crisis hobby what turned into pole dancing. That's what I did. I saw a girlfriend do it. I thought,
Nice.
hey, that's kind of cool. I think I'm going to do that. I saw this pole fitness class happening. A girlfriend of mine did it. I'm like, you know what? And it taught me and forced me to come back into my own body and get in touch with my anxiety, get in touch with my meditation practice, get in touch with my anxiety medication, get in touch with everything that encapsulated who I was, but also shed my labels. And this whole next chapter for me kind of have a chance for a second chance at that.
Awesome. Plus, I've heard that's a lot of fun, by the way.
It's so fun. It is the most empowering thing I've ever done for myself. Like it's part of my toolbox. You know, I have these things in my toolbox, my meditation, I do a cranial stimulation device. I you know, walk, I do pole dancing, you know, all of this stuff. And I love that.
That's awesome. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I love that you said you about what women are choosing, what path they're choosing, and you emphasize that as you were describing that, because I think that's an important part. Like, what are you choosing to do for you? Because oftentimes I think for women, we don't often feel like we have choices
Hmm.
and we do what we're supposed to do, or we do what we're told to do, or
Right.
the expectation of someone else's. So really, I highlighting that you said choosing what that path. I think that's a very important part too.
It is. It really is. Yeah, it really is because I think we get stuck in the expectation. And there is no expectation. It's like what do you want to do? What's going to work for you? You know, because what I do might not work for everybody. I sit down and I meditate every single day. That's not for everybody. It's freaking hard. It's like how do you
Yeah.
do? What do you do? You know, I do pole dancing. That's hard. That's not for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, choosing what you want is really, really valuable.
Yeah. One of the things I like to tell everybody, because with the expectations, is other people's expectations is their problem. If they have
Yeah.
an expectation on you, it is because they've decided based on their thoughts and their opinions of what you're capable of to put that out there. They didn't consult you on that. They just decided this is what it was. So if
Right.
you don't live up to that, that seems like their fucking problem, not
Right.
yours.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And when we have expectations, when we place our expectations on somebody else,
Same thing.
unbeknownst to them, that's when we get disappointed.
Uh-huh. That's exactly what it is.
Stop having that.
Yeah. Like, oh, I expect you to do better. Ooh, ooh.
Right,
Mm.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, expectations. The only person you can have expectations on is yourself.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So for you, when we talk about midlife, as you're helping women in midlife, what have you found to be the best parts of midlife for women? Because we started talking about all the crappy parts about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, that's a loaded question because I feel like it's the best time of my life because I allowed it to be. Um, we get a chance to really give no shits about what anybody thinks. I really don't care anymore, which is awesome.
Perfect.
I love it. It's a chance to, for those of us that have chosen to have kids, I have a brand new relationship with them as adults, and that is so fun. And it's a chance to date my spouse again in a way that, okay, we get like a second round at this because life kind of swallowed us up for a little bit. And then as an individual and as a woman, it's just a chance for you to do it all again because I think when we're younger and we're growing up and we're getting thrown into the stereotypical what's next? Okay, you graduated, now you're going to college, and now you're getting in a relationship, whatever that looks like for you. What's the expectation? Now are you going to have a family? Are you going to do this? Well, not all of us choose to do that, right? So I think the majority of us kind of fold into that life because that's what's expected of us, back to the expectation thing. But when we hit midlife, the most beautiful thing ever is to just expand in a way that you've always wanted to expand. But I think this second time around, you know more and you really know what you want. And I think that that's so rad.
That is awesome. That is super awesome. So I know you work with women on relationships and sleep, anxiety, just overall wellness. What are some of the common questions that you get asked, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, not at all. What I do to cope with menopause and perimenopause and what comes down with it. A sticky topic right now for women is hormone replacement therapy or not. So we have conversations around that on what is good for them, just on a woman to woman basis, not a nurse because I'm not a nurse anymore. But I have that background just to have that conversation. What are they doing for their anxiety? What I have done for my anxiety, what is opening to the door for that? And for me, I did go to therapy and it helped tremendously. So I share openly about what that looked like. I did start on medication. That helped tremendously. And I share what that looks like. I started a meditation practice, which was difficult for me because when your brain is going a million miles an hour, for you to sit down and meditate, and that's more my jam anyway. I follow more of a, spiritual meditation practice rather than a religious practice. But that is another sticky subject for people. It's like giving permission to, am I allowed to leave what that belief was behind in order to meditate? My, voices in my head are going a million miles an hour. How do you do this? Do you sit? And I started working with a company called Neurovana, and it's like a cranial stimulation device. And I use that when I meditate, and it just helps me ground, it helps me focus, and has helped me with my sleep and my anxiety. So we talk about that and how to use that. And we talk about sex and relationships because that's another topic that tends to go off the cliff a little bit because our
Mm.
bodies in perimenopause and menopause are completely changing. And what is that looking like? And how are you coping with it? And sex by yourself, is that happening? That's another big thing. So we put it all on the table because all of it deserves attention, in my opinion. And I think once we start those conversations, it just opens the door to, oh my gosh, like we're really doing this. We're really talking about this. I meet once a month with a local community group of women, and we just have no bullshit conversation. There is no small talk. We just shoot straight to what it is. And we call it our
Nice.
little mini Vegas. and what is talked about in the community at the time. We're not going on the moms groups later and going to our friends and being like, guess what? I saw Jane Doe with the thing and she's da 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 da. It's not that at all. This is a very like, we come, we drop it on the table and we leave. And last week we had that conversation about anxiety and what was that looking like for everybody? And every single woman there had an anxiety story of their email moment or their target moment. And what were we doing? What were we putting in our toolbox in order to repair that and to help heal that? And it was a plethora of things. It was, the meditation. It was getting back to whatever their spiritual practice was. It was sex frequently, orgasms. It was going out with girlfriends. It was, all of the things, therapy, medication, everything in there. And it was such a breath of fresh air to hear women talk about that. And when they really brought their honesty to the table and felt like they were in a safe space of no judgment, that's like when I saw lights turn on. And that was really, really cool.
That is really awesome because I don't think women get that enough.
I agree.
Legitimate, safe spaces to be authentic about the important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And when we first started the group, I did it with a girlfriend and we just basically said, there is no small talk. I don't care that Timmy just got the baseball award. I don't care that you made this kick-ass chicken recipe for dinner. Like, I want to know the nitty-gritty. Like, the nitty-gritty. We are laying it on the table because 100% of the time there's going to be someone in the group that goes, oh yeah, that totally happened to me. And it makes you feel normal, which how dumb is it that we have to come together in spaces like that to feel normal? What's that?
Well, and it's because, like you said, we have to put on masks all the time, right? We have to throw on a mask to be normal in our everyday. And that was big quotes, right? Big quotes around normal.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to be a certain way, right? You have to be a certain way to be a parent. You have to be a certain way at your job. You have to be a certain way at the PTO, whatever, right?
Yeah, it's very true.
Instead of like, okay, I can still be authentically me in all those versions.
Yeah. Yeah. And that permission is gargantuan, in my opinion. It's gargantuan. And I feel like through this whole transition, I have found my circle of true people. I think midlife is one of those times where your friendships do this, they do the parting of the waters because you're really starting to question, would I choose that person in my authentic self at this state? Or did I choose them in high school? And being okay with that.
Yeah.
Being okay with that. Time and longevity doesn't necessarily equate to loyalty in that aspect. And for my own mental health, I had to make changes in that arena also. You know, it's just I needed to be authentically who I was all the way around.
No, for sure. To be, not everybody grows with you,
Right.
grows on the same path or the same trajectory, and that's okay.
Right. 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 Yeah, it really is okay. But I think once your eyes are opened, when you get to that point, they cannot be closed again
No.
at all. And you just start to see things completely differently.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just like, oh, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And when women are going through the changes in midlife and they're starting to kind of like wake up, I like to call it a little bit, I see a lot of my community getting pushback on what they're doing, getting pushback for stepping into their authenticity, getting talked about because maybe they've chosen to start, meditating, getting talked about because, ooh, they're going to therapy now,
The
get
dreaded therapy.
right, clutch the pearls. And I've now seen a pattern. And when they do get that pushback, we'll have conversations. I go, listen, when you make these changes and when you are starting to make these changes known to others, if that's what you choose, just know you might lose people. Just know you might get pushback. And the little voice in your brain might go, "Ooh, wait, is this for me? Wait, do I really want to do this?" And you might withdraw back into your shell again and think, "No, no, no, I just gotta, cook my chicken casserole and show up to PTA and wear my pearls and, be perfect." It's like, no, you don't. That's your fear talking. That's your, you're going back into ego. You gotta push back out. So
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun to see.
No, I agree with you. It's one of the things I love most about therapy is watching those transitions into people being the person that they really are.
Yes. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Because on someone's gravestone at the end of their journey, it's never gonna say like, was the perfect blah 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 blah, all the things, right?
Made the perfect casserole for PTA.
Right? No one cares. No one cares you had the best outfit. No one cares that you
No one.
had all your accolades. You can burn it down and
Yeah.
be that's okay. That's totally okay.
Yeah. And sometimes I think what is important is that like when people take the when people kind of move themselves through, right? Sometimes they just recognize that they're moving themselves through because
Right, right,
right they are not on the same journey and they're not willing to be on the same journey.
right, right.
So
Yeah, that's big. That is definitely big. And
yeah,
I think women just knowing that that's okay. Your journey is
yeah,
different from my journey, is different from her journey. And at the end of the day, it all comes full circle. And it's really, I feel like it always boils down to that permission to that my toolbox is going to look different than your toolbox, than her toolbox. And there should
for
be no
sure.
judgment behind it because there are so many different things that can help us through that whole process.
Yeah. And Tauna, you thanks for joining us.
I am so sorry.
You're good.
I was, they had me booked on another podcast at the same time.
Well, look at you being so busy.
I I was like, where's Shawn? Where's the host I was expecting? And I did this whole other 30-minute podcast.
It's
I'm so,
awesome.
I don't
Oh,
know if I'm
overachiever,
helping or
overachiever
making it
today.
worse. Oh,
Right? Look at you, a big overachiever.
okay, well, underachiever on this one, obviously. I am so sorry. I don't know if I'm helping or making it worse by showing up.
Well, we're glad to have you, so we're making it better. How about that?
Yeah, well, again, I just apologize so much.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We were having, we were talking, just we were having a good conversation. So, well, why don't we do this? And we do the thing. So, as Tana just joined us, I'll introduce you to the peoples. You are the founder of Neurovanicom, correct? I said that right?
Correct.
All right,
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
And as Shawn mentioned, she does the cranial electrotherapy stimulation. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that is, because I was going to ask her, but you're here now. So maybe you can tell us what that is.
I'd love to. It's just a little tiny handheld device. Doesn't look like anything special. Has some little ear clips that you just clip to your ears and just turn it on, and it delivers just a little tiny microcurrent to your brain that, long story short, it gives your brain the current of calm, puts it
Nice.
into the same type of brain state that one is in when they're meditating.
Oh, okay.
Most of
That's
it,
cool.
yeah, most of that current goes to the thalamus, which is the kind of the primary relay station of the brain, part of the brain that does the emotional processing and it manages sensory experiences. And you give your brain this current and it just kind of knows what to do with it and puts it into, it's kind of an on switch for calm, puts it into that brain state that, like I said, the same type of brain state when a person is meditating.
That's super cool.
I use
So
mine when I'm meditating.
you use them
Do you,
together?
Shawn?
I do, and it helped me like focus on it, especially for people that are new to meditation. It's just a really great tool that I just clip on. I do my 30-minute meditation and it keeps me there, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Because I think when people are first learning meditation, they are all over the place. So this has been a great device for me.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, because I usually, for people who are like new to meditation, I usually recommend like a shorter meditation.
Yeah.
Like my favorite is it's called Fuck That meditation. It's 2.5
Yeah.
minutes. He
Yeah.
literally swears through the whole thing, so
Yeah.
it's great. Um,
Perfect.
but it's 2.5 minutes. So if you're new to it, it's short, it helps.
Yeah.
But if it's also this also helps, that's super cool for because meditation is hard.
It is hard. I feel like it just keeps everything right here, just everything focused, which
Yeah,
I,
I think it's a skill that people develop. It's a discipline that
right.
I think takes practice. I think even, 2.5 minutes even is maybe too much for some people. I was talking to someone
Right.
the other day that said that they started with 30 seconds and
Yeah.
they've been doing it for 15 years or something, and they've worked up to like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And, I don't think there's necessarily a replacement for that. I think it's very valuable, but there was a study in 2013 that um, EEG is a scan of the brain that shows what the electrical activity in the brain, what's going on in the brain at that given time. And they did a study on a group of very experienced meditators. They did EEGs on them while they're meditating, and then a group of people who were using CES while they were using it. And the EEGs looked basically the same. They couldn't tell the two groups apart. And like I said, I think there's a replacement for the discipline, the skill that's developed with meditation, but there is a shortcut to that type of brain state, kind of a
Yeah.
biohack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Is
That's
that what
cool.
you found it to be, Shawn, for
Yeah,
you?
definitely. Definitely. I was telling Arlene earlier, it's part of my toolbox. I have this midlife toolbox where I have all of my things that have helped me through perimenopause and menopause. And definitely that has been one of the tools.
Wonderful. I'm glad you mentioned toolbox because I think that people who have anxiety, insomnia, depression, PTSD, they kind of have an idea of what their options are. There's medications, there's counseling, there's meditation, nature walks, prayer, grounding exercises. All of those are wonderful. I highly recommend all of them. This deserves to be on that list. It has earned its place on that list in that toolbox. It deserves a seat at the table. It's just as effective, if not more, than all of those things. But it's surprisingly well known considering how effective it is.
Well, for sure, as someone who I don't know, works with people in all of those things that you mentioned, it's not something that I was overly familiar with until I made myself overly familiar with it
Right.
for this, right? And that's a shame.
That was exactly what I found myself thinking, Arlene. I've been practicing in mental health. I'd been practicing for 5.5 years before I learned about it. And I try to be someone who is current, up to date with things that are available. And not only that, but also like knowing what's still coming out because I want to give the best care I possibly can. And so when I learned about them, my thought was like, well, how can something that works this well be so unknown? So I was still skeptical. So I bought a few and almost encouraged people to prove me wrong. Like, okay, if I'm wrong about this, please tell me. But that wasn't what I saw. I mean, to be honest, when I first got some, I just ordered 10 of them. And those 10 barely made it past just my staff and some family members because they would try it and find it so effective. And so then I ordered another 10 but I kept one in my office and had people trying it. And those 10 were sold before they even arrived.
Oh
So
wow.
then I, started ordering more and to see, I see 20 to 25 patients a day, all day, every
Yeah.
day. And so I get to see over and over and over again how impactful it is for people. And then it brings me to what you were mentioning, like where has the psychiatric community been on this?
Right.
Why isn't it more well known? I don't know the answer to that question.
Plus, I think for a woman that is not a mental health provider like you guys, as a patient or as a just a regular everyday person, it's something that we can control. So when we go to therapy, we're doing the therapy. Going to counseling, we're doing the counseling. we're taking the medication. All of those are incredibly beneficial tools. But to have something, because I feel like for me, the menopausal anxiety was I felt completely out of control. But I knew that, okay, I have this with me. It's almost like I don't know if you guys have ever heard this from patients, but almost like the placebo effect. Like if have a like GABA calm, natural thing in my purse, and if I have a panic attack, maybe I can ward it off because I have this tool, this exterior tool that I'm using. So I feel like people feel like they have more power because they can choose when I'm going to do this every day, when I'm going to, take the certain things out of my toolbox.
100% agree with that. Yeah, and that's a nice thing about it is it is so discreet and small that you can take it with you anywhere. And if you do have these little ear clips on, it just looks like you're wearing headphones. And I agree with you, Shawn. I think that people are they want more options than just the ones that have always been there. And those options are great. Like I'm not anti-medication. I'm a prescriber. I
Right.
prescribe all day long. I'm happy
Right.
to do that. But a lot of people they want to know, well, what else is there? There's got to be something else.
Right. Right.
And this has had FDA clearance since 1979. It's
Okay, well,
been
That's
that's the
wild.
saddest part about the whole
I
thing right
I
there.
know, ladies, exactly. Like what the and
Yeah.
I'm part of this community that really like we should be out there, like be the ones leading the charge. Like, hey guys, there's something else. But it's not well known even in my own professional community. And that's really what gets Nirvana up in the morning. And so I really appreciate that you ladies are aware of it and helping make it more well known because it needs to be. Something that I really would like to mention also is that SSRIs are
Mhm.
the old standby, right? And they're great.
Yep.
They're great. Happy to prescribe them all the time. SSRIs have a 45 to 55% success rate. And people have, weight gain, sexual side effects. Maybe it upsets their stomach, it impacts their sleep, withdrawals if they miss doses or if they decide they want to stop taking it. Okay, but still, I think that they have earned a spot at the table because they have been very helpful. Okay, so 45 to 55%. Okay, 67% success rate using the same standard that the other studies are used for, which is in order to be considered a success, it has to give improvement of at least 50% to the symptoms. Okay. So 67%. But Shawn and Arlene, okay, but what if we factor in the safety profile? No one's gaining weight from CES. No one's having sexual side effects. They're not overdosing. They don't have withdrawals. They're not getting like all of those things.
Yeah.
Don't need to talk about it. Just not a conversation we need to have.
No, that's true because for me as the counselor, right, I get the this medication, I've tried this medication, I've tried that medication. I don't like this side effect. I've had this side effect, or this one doesn't work. I feel like I'm on the spinny wheel of medication. And I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, well, have you done the genetic testing for your medication to see which ones work best? And then people go, there's genetic testing. And I'm like, yes, I don't know why that's not a bigger thing people know about.
I
But
do that every day. Yep.
okay. But it's like, okay, but if you're going to take this, please know one of the biggest things is probably these side effects. So these are the most common. And they're like, so wait a minute, my mental health is going to be stable, but I'm not going to have a sex drive. And
Right.
I'm like,
I have
yes.
to
So
choose. I have to choose.
right. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
my joke is you can be mentally stable and have no sex drive or be crazy and have sex. These are your
Right.
options. These are my
Right.
jokes.
Right.
And they're like, thanks. These are
You're
good
like,
choices.
maybe I'll take the crazy.
Right.
Right.
And so I love that this is like, because that does factor in for a lot of people. Like,
It certainly should. Yes.
I don't
Yes.
gain weight. I don't have to worry about if I miss a dose. I don't have to, like, and a lot of people don't want to be on medication for forever. They're like, I could take it for now to help while I'm learning tools and skills, but I don't want to do it forever. And because I'm like, look, everybody has a different thought process about medication, and I'm good on all of that, but it helps. It does. But I
Yeah.
love the fact that this has none of all of that.
Right. And I'm not anti-medication at all. And I don't think either one of you two
Yeah,
is,
no.
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
not
they
at all.
exactly. Yeah. But and this can be used alongside it. It can be used in conjunction with it.
Right.
In some cases, it can be instead of, Shawn, I think you mentioned something about like a panic attack, which is something that maybe someone is well managed on the daily with a medication that they're taking, but still still things come up, and you can pull it out in those times too. I do have patients that I have some patients that maybe every week they have a weekly team meeting with their work team or something, and they're nervous for that meeting, and they'll put this on before that or even during that, and be able to show up and present themselves according to how they're wanting to present themselves and feel calm and regulated in those
Yeah.
times. And a lot of people who use them for, like it as needed situations, but a lot of people who just use it to like just lower their baseline level of anxiety in general by using it regularly.
Yeah, definitely.
I have
I know in menopause it's been key, among
Yes.
other things.
I know it's
this
that's
is
such
but
yeah.
like this is crazy. Like the amount, it's just appalling to me that this is something that just isn't out there as a, hey, this is also a tool.
As a
Hey,
regular everyday. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think that's the hardest part for me when we talk about this, because it is beneficial.
Well, I think
Arlene.
so much
Yeah.
stigma wrapped around all of it.
Yeah.
Like we were
Yeah.
talking
Exactly. I mean, Arlene, that's exactly what you just nailed it for me. It's like what the why didn't make any sense. This has been available this whole time. Not only that, like this was available when my kids were little, and I had a daughter who was always anxious at night. And all those nights of stress, and like it was so stressful for the whole house. Like I could have just put that on her. And
about. Mhm.
and nights could have been better. I mean, since 1979.
Yeah.
And I have to hold myself accountable for that in a lot of ways because the research has been there. I just didn't know to be looking for it.
Well, I think the research has been there, but as a consumer of these tools and not a practitioner, the research has been there, but it has a stigma against her. It has. I feel like it's getting better, but it goes back to the conversation of people actually having a conversation if they're okay or not. And that's where it needs to start, and more people talking about what they're doing to help themselves.
Yeah, and
That's
I
true.
respect the work that you're doing, Shawn, and you also, Arlene, that you are bringing that conversation. Or Shawn, you're making it aware to your audience, just normalizing conversations about mental health, and also the challenges associated with perimenopause, and also that you bring like a body positivity and acceptance that I think is beautiful also. And I agree with you that just normalizing these conversations goes a long, long way, regardless of tools we're talking about.
It really does. I feel like it makes us all feel normal, whatever normal is going to be.
Yeah.
But it just makes us, like we were talking about earlier, Arlene, with authenticity. It just makes us show up authentically who we are. And don't feel weird about saying, oh, yeah, this is what I went through and this is what helped me. Maybe it could help you too, whatever that is going to be, whatever tool.
Yeah, no, I just the more options there are, the better it is, because not everything works for everybody. And so I think that is what I think is the just better care in general.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And like I said, and it- it's not a competition. It's not either or. It's not CES or medication, CES or counseling, or medication or counseling, even, or meditation
Yeah.
or grounding exercises. Like
Right.
they all are very useful and serve a very useful purpose. With CES, in that conversation, it's just, well, why hasn't this been at that table?
Right.
Why do
Right.
people not know? And that is Neurovana's goal, for people to
Yeah.
know, hey, this is an option,
Yeah.
and this is how well it has worked.
I love
Maybe
that.
it's something that would help you too.
No, I think that's great. And I'm really glad that you were here today.
Me
Uh,
too.
so that we could help with that as well, because as we talk on for our audience, it's about making sure they, just educating, but we also just tackle all of the things and in a way that, is accessible as well. Like the more, as we grow up, the more,
Totally.
Right.
but at the end of the day, it's about helping get more information to more people and in a way that just makes sense. So I'm really glad that, we were able to connect today to be able to have this conversation, because I do think this is something more people should be aware of.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed. Then thank you for having me, even though it went a little different than we both would have preferred as
Hey,
far as the timing.
things happen how they happen. We roll with it, that's how it goes.
I appreciate that flexibility and for still being willing to let me in. And I love the work that you're both doing, and love the opportunity to talk about CES and make it more well known. So yeah, thanks a lot for mentioning that. I'd love to continue the conversation also and more in the future.
Awesome. I would love to as well. I do appreciate both of you being here. Shawn, I appreciate our earlier conversation and,
It was
just
so
really,
great.
really talking about all the fun things.
It was super great. Thank you so much, Arlene, just for putting a light on all of this. It's really, really valuable.
Thank you. And I appreciate both of you and the good conversation. Mental health is obviously my thing. But anybody who's, just willing to have those fun conversations with me, I enjoy, because I get nerdy about it.
Love it.
Same here. Yeah, I like to geek out on the science, and in fact, if anybody wants to geek out with me, go to my website, neurovonicalm.com, and there's a tab that says download our free ebook, and it does a little deeper dive into the science. I think it appeals to the clinician, but also to the layperson that likes to geek out. I know I like to geek out, so feel free to join me in that.
Perfect. And so you don't have to go search for it. It'll be in the body of this. I'll attach it for you guys. Don't worry. And Shawn, if they want to find you, how do they find you?
Yes, I am Shawn Michelle Nelson on all socials. We put out a newsletter once a week just to help midlife women through each of these weird chapters and stages. So you can find me on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and in your email if you'd like.
Also, I'll put those there too. I'll help
Awesome.
you guys out. That way you can just click one place.
Thanks, Arlene.
It's fine. It's
Thank
fine. I'll
you.
help you guys out. But ladies, again, I appreciate you being here. As for you listeners, I appreciate you guys being here. As usual, give us a like, a follow, share, with anybody who might need the service, or yourself or your friends, your enemies, who we keep them guessing around here. We don't know. It's fine. But as usual, we appreciate you guys being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Unwinding with Support Group. Follow us on Substack. Give us a like, a follow. Give us a comment. Tell us what you hated, what you like, what you want us to talk about next. Let everybody know where they can find us too. But thanks for hanging out with us once again.